What's going on, everyone? Hope you guys are having a good weekend. I'm going to try to make my February 2020 recap once again. I've been having difficulties with YouTube and it won't upload my videos. My first video was around 40 minutes and it wouldn't upload, and my second video was around 30 minutes. So, what I'm going to do this time is not talk about any of the charts and just talk about mindset and go through my stats of this month. And then, if you guys show enough love and you guys want me to go through some of the charts, I'll make a part two potentially, but I'm going to try to keep this video in between the 15 and 20-minute range, so I might talk a little quick. Other than that, I did make my 2020 January recap over here, and I'll link that in the description if you guys haven't watched that. I talked about this month pretty in depth, and I got a couple complaints that I wasn't talking loud enough, so what I did was turned up my mic. So we'll see how that goes. Let me know if it's better. So to get right into it here, I had my best month ever, 47,000, and it was actually funny because last February was my previous best month and it was 46,200. So I don't know what it is about February, but the opportunity, and I'm just ready to go. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's cold, I don't go outside, and I'm just stuck in my room just grinding out the stocks and sizing up or whatever, but super consistent month. And it was really after this first week super consistent, and then I had another big trade on ticker symbol UMO, like last month when I made the big trade on RIVX, the OTC promotion. And then I was like, all right, like I'm already up a decent amount on the year, I'm already up 40 grand or whatever it is, somewhere around 40. And I was like, all right, that's time to size up. So I moved my risk from like 200 to like 200 to like 3, 4, 500. And then even on this week here, I was risking like 1 or 2 grand on a lot of these plays because they were so ideal. And that's kind of key with sizing up. Like, I don't really have a system on how I size. I don't risk X amount of my account or whatever that is. I just do it how I feel comfortable. Because at the end of the day, like, whatever your trading plan is, if you aren't comfortable with your trading plan, like you can't physically be a robot. Like I don't believe that. You're a human at the end of the day, so you have to use your mentality and your emotional state to your advantage. Like trading's kind of like basketball, right? Where you'll see teams go on, streaks and streaks of scoring like 20 to 0 streaks, and then the other team will come back and they'll score 14 in a row. And that's kind of how I believe trading is. It's really momentum based. So when I'm trading good, that's when I size up. And then as you can see here, I was taking a little bit bigger losses on my red days compared to previous month. I had smaller red days, but my gains were always four figures. And this last week, especially when the virus stocks were really going off, I completely missed all the longs. Like this is only from shorting the virus stocks, and I did a really good job shorting. And I'll show you guys my pattern performance and how I did on the Nasdaqs later. But basically, this is like a first for me to make an actually like a real amount of money trading Nasdaq stocks because I've always been an OTC trader for the last year and a half or whatever it's been. But I've slowly been learning these Nasdaqs from all these people, from Huddy, learned some tape from Harry. I learned some stuff from Kyle, learned some stuff from Mark Crook, I learned some stuff from Tim Gertani, and I kind of used all their knowledge to make my own kind of trading style with them. And my trading style is, especially this last week here, when the stocks were super extended, I knew that I didn't have to time the top perfectly. I knew that what I could do would be like join into weakness and look for the snap, and kind of use the level two in the tape to kind of see like where the weakness was coming in, because when these things go red, there's going to be a huge panic to the downside. So like I didn't need to short and then have a wide stop and either let it squeeze me out. If it's showing weakness, then I want to be in because then it's showing me that the stocks can go red and die. So I don't want to be shorting with a wide stop and just let it play out. Like what I was doing was I was shorting size, and if the stock didn't break down, I would simply cover. Like this day, I nailed APT for about 8 grand, and I was down 1,000 something on it because I had taken 3 or 4 paper cuts. And then when I finally did time it and I shorted the weakness and the stock had continued follow through momentum to the downside, then that's the next pop when I got confirmation. That's when I doubled down and I took the most amount of shares because now the stock has proven to me that the stock was going to break down and go red. So I kind of found a style that I used to trade in the OTC longs, and the OTC longs are just way too slow for me now. As you can see later in my pattern performance, I'll show you that I'm not making that much money on OTC longs. OTC longs contribute to 10% of my gains on the overall year. So most of my gains this year have been from shorting, which is just amazing growth for me because I never stopped growing after I made my money. I made my first 100 grand. Then how am I going to make my next 100 grand? And that is adapting or perishing. And I adapted, and that's what people have to do. You guys have to recognize what's going on in the market. You can't just trade one strategy. And I mean, you can trade one strategy, sure, but you're not going to have this kind of consistency without trading multiple strategies because there's you have to be able to recognize when a certain strategy is hot. Like I wasn't even looking at OTCs this week because I knew that I could make the most amount of money on these Nasdaq virus plays. And I missed TOMZ and GNBT, two perfect OTC long setups. And if I was focused, I would have definitely nailed both of those, but I wouldn't have nailed them for, $29,000. I probably would have made 3, 4 grand on it. So prioritizing the patterns I think is very important. So now to jump into the month review so you guys can see some of the trades. So as you can see from last month, I have a lot more 4-figure gains, and that came with my sizing up. So this trade was UOMO. This was the same pattern as RIVX. It was just a promotion, and I shorted it, and I made 87%, and that's great. And I love this strategy, but it doesn't come around too often. It's not like 4 times a month or whatever. Like I'll probably get 1 or 2 every couple months, like I have been so far. And then as you can see here are 3 huge listed supernovas, and I made great money on them. All big supernovas I shorted. And as you can see here, like my percent gains, they're trash because I'm trading so many shares throughout the day that it doesn't show like these are all my trades combined. So you can see that I'm actually trading them in and out, in and out. So that's why the percent gains are so bad. And then I had a few really good OTC trades, a couple of breakouts, and one short where I made, all around 2 to 3 grand. These are still good OTC trades that I made on the previous weeks. It was, I think it was this week. No, I think BTCY was this week. So solid trades there, and then more Nasdaqs. This was before the big day on Friday. This was the 14 grand day, the last day of the month. And then this was a couple setups pre another lower tier promotion compared to UMO. It wasn't a UOMO type promotion. It was a little bit lower tier, but still made 2 grand on that. That was a nice trade. And then I had just some more Nasdaqs, first red days, some nice solid singles and doubles here. And then a bunch of smaller trades here that these things just will add up over time. And then a bunch of smaller losses, and then I had a few bad losses here where I shorted some. This was I got really badly squeezed on SPOM. It was an OTC, and one thing I have learned is you really need to be careful on these cent OTCs if you're shorting, because I know myself, and if I take 10,000 shares, it's going to be kind of hard to get out of this stock. So you really need to be careful if you're shorting under 50 cents, because if you get a lot of shares, it's hard to execute. It's a lot in commissions, so you have to be really certain that it's going to go down. And then here is Tom's, the OTC, and I just completely messed it up this day when it was breaking out, like I told you guys, because I was so focused on Nasdaq, but I still tried to trade it, and I was trying to take too much size because I knew it was a good setup. I mean, the stock went all the way to $1.50 from my 60 entry, so more than double. But I just couldn't focus on it correctly because I was focusing on everything else. And then this one I got stuck into earnings after hours. It was a really dumb trade, my worst percent loss of the month. And but I was still able to keep a $200 average loss. And this isn't totally true because a lot of times I was down a decent amount, like testing my feelers out. Like APT, I was down like a grand something before I made all this money. This isn't a completely accurate stat, but I was still able to keep my ticker loss $200 on the red ones, and then my profit was 700. So really good stats here. And then actually, this might be the first time ever that I traded more Nasdaqs than OTCs. I'm going long and short 50% of the time. That's good. I never want to be overly biased. So that is really good. My Nasdaq win percent, 69%, basically right on that 70, super ideal. And then my OTC win percent and long win percent, right over that 55, like I said at last video that I wanted to get it to. Short win percent 71, overall win percent 65, and this is on like 125 trades. So this is a large sample size and really good stats this month. Obviously, it was my best month ever. So what else do we have here? I mean, average week 12 grand, which is just a little crazy. I mean, I'm only 21 years old, and to be making 12 grand a month like that's super crazy. I started with 29,000 and I made 29,000 the last week of February. So that just shows how trading can really grow, and who knows what this can be in a few more years down the line. But that's why I love trading so much. It's you can kind of control how you do, unlike other jobs and all that stuff. But I'm not going to get into that. That was just a brief mention. And I have a 6.26 profit factor, which is really good. Anything over 5 is fantastic, and then if you have in between like 2 to 4, that's average and that's decent. I would take that. Long profit factor about a 3.0, so pretty solid long stats there. Only getting about 2 to 1 on my risk reward. Average loss 150, average gain 300. So nothing crazy there, but 8 grand, and 8 grand still even decent on the month. So I'm not, that's not bad. 8 grand. And then my shorting just once again really really good. 9.0 profit factor on my shorts. So I mean I lost 5 grand here and 4 grand here, but I made 45,000 instead of 12,000. And then my average profit, I mean perfectly to the dollar, 1,000, and then 75 cents average gain. Average loss about 280. So I'm finding that risk reward there, risking around 300 to make 1,000. I really really like that with my 70% win rate, and made 40 grand. So, and my fees too, they weren't even bad. I spent about a grand in fees. All these brokerages nowadays, Speed Trader, Cobra, IB, E-Trade, I was shorting all with them, and the fees are so much better than when I first started shorting. Like I remember I would just be spending this much or more on fees when I'd be making like 2, 3, 4 grand when I first started in 2018 over there at Centerpoint, and the fees are just so much better nowadays. So really cool stuff. And then these stats are a little bit messed up because I was trading Tesla. And to get into Tesla a little bit, that was the first stock that I actually shorted that was super high priced, and I absolutely nailed it. And I think that one is what gave me the confidence to say, like, why can't I keep doing this? And then we got some super ideal virus setups. So I continue to trade them and do really well. Average daily gain 2,500, just really, really good. So pattern performance here. I mean, as you guys can see, already up 80 grand on the year, which is really good. And last last year I was up about like 70 or 60 or something like that around this time. But the key for me this year is going to be to continue this momentum. I know I'm not going to be able to pull out 50 grand every month, but I believe that I can do 5 figures every month. 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand. Because I have so much more in my arsenal now. When I was only trading last year, it was strictly OTC longs and maybe a few shorts that E-Trade had, but not really how I can do it now. And I just have so much more knowledge now that the only thing that matters, like, this is nothing because I started this good last year. The goal is literally to keep this momentum going. not like super intense like every like I said, not every month being 50 grand, but I want to be able to can be consistently profiting at least 10 grand a month. And we'll see what happens. Who knows, maybe there's gonna be more hot sectors in the spring or whatever it is, but just got to keep it going, got to keep it rolling. Like I got to remind myself like this is what happened last year, so I need to keep it going. So February, I mean, 40 4,600 on OTC longs, and that was mainly coming from the two trades of ABML and HENC. I didn't really take any too big of losses on these setups except for TOMZ, but I already told you guys a little bit about that. And then my OTCs, like I was saying last month, I said I wanted to size up on the OTC short setup, but there just wasn't too many good OTC short setups. So I mean, negative, I guess, on the strategy, but that's all right because I had a few nice other strategies that I trade there to make some money, and then the promotion I made good money on, so not bad at all. And then listed, here it is, 24 grand 300. Never have made this much on Nasdaq in my entire life, so I'm really jacked up about it, honestly. And so far in March, like I've continued in the first week, I've already made 9,000 more on some of these Nasdaqs. So, I mean, my OTCs are nothing in the first week of March, and my Nasdaqs are doing way better. So, I'm really happy that I have adapted and growing, and that's kind of key. Like, when you guys get to a certain point, like, you really need to adapt. And I've been trying to do it for probably over a year now, but I just didn't get it right away. But now I can say, like, a year down the road, I pulled it off this month finally, because I feel like a year ago is when I kind of started to develop some of these new strategies, and now I have like all these strategies. So just really happy. And then listed longs, I just kind of scalp around on these, play it safe. This is just a nice little wallet pattern. I'll pay for my bills and just let my shorts really just do the talking and continue to grow my account through those. But other than that, guys, I guess my video is around 17 minutes right now. So like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments if you want me to go over through some charts in February. I'll maybe do it next weekend if I get enough likes and comments and you guys actually want to see it. But if not, I'll see you for the March recap. And we're off to a good start, so let's keep it rolling. I hope everyone's has a great weekend and great trading week next week. Let's kill it.